exhibit A, like just cross over your content into multiple different platforms, right? Then when TikTok came out during like a couple of years before the pandemic, I was like, another platform I need to post videos on, right? But believe it or not, I got featured on the Ellen Show because of one of my TikTok videos, right? You never know where different opportunities are gonna come from, so it's always to diversify yourself after you've built that solid foundation. And for me, that was Instagram. Until this day, it's still Instagram, but I never neglected putting out my stuff in other different platforms, right? Any questions regarding that first part?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So why do you have TikTok written twice under short and long form?
Because TikTok now, I think, supports like 10-minute videos, I believe. Yeah. So you could cross over YouTube long form videos into TikTok as well, which is a big plus. Um, yep. And then on the third category, we have music DSPs, right? Do you guys know what a DSP is? Yeah, streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc., etc. Same concept as social media. Pick one and focus all your efforts on. For me, that was Spotify. Um, and I'm not saying that when you release music, you don't release it onto other places, but it's easier to funnel your existing audience into one single streaming platform versus trying to put them out like, okay, you go here, you go there, you go there, right? And once you consolidate that listening audience, it's easier to push a tour date, for example. If you had all your followers spread out across Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Apple Music, and Spotify Music, it's harder to just be like, hey, I have a show, everybody come. You have to put efforts into advertising on every single one of those DSPs. In exchange, because I did everything on Spotify, most of my listening followers are on Spotify, and I can just put a tour date up on Spotify, and I don't have to think about the rest of my DSPs. It's also easier for independent people because I don't have to think too much about multiple platforms at that point. But still, the same concept applies. Focus all your most of your energy on one, and then slowly spread seeds onto the other ones. Go for it. No, ask as many as you need to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why Spotify over Apple Music?
Why Spotify versus Apple Music? Because most people have Spotify. And then it's simple. And I'm gonna use this exact analogy for multiple things right now. Um, Even editing content or mixing or like mixing songs, I always go with the most used device. For example, when I edit a video, I always edit for iPhone users because I know most people are using iPhone. When I mix, my last test is not even my phone anymore. When I mix, my last test is my AirPods because most people listen to music on AirPods. So if it doesn't sound good on AirPods, then don't even release the song, right? Not everyone has fancy $10,000 speakers, and that's good for me because I don't need to buy that 10,000 fancy speaker to make sure my song is gonna sound good for most people, right? Uh, and that applies to Apple Music versus Spotify. Yeah, yeah, that is a very valid concern. Hence, like I said, spread your seats everywhere. That sounded very wrong, but spread your seats everywhere. You never know what's gonna go down, and that's always the biggest fear of any content creator, right? Instagram could go down at any point, and then luckily enough, I built a small audience on TikTok and YouTube, right? It might not be as big as Instagram, but at least I know that if that dies, I don't have to start from zero again, which is very good. Yeah.
Last thing I swear.
Go no. Keep asking.
you think it's good to treat your you as an artist as like a business, like how they professionally, like they would have like a marketing or a social media team that posts whatever you're gonna post on each platform, like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, everything that is commonly used that could be used as like to get eyeballs, quote unquote. Like
Yes, you don't need a marketing team. You can do it. Yeah.
to do that.
Yes,
To
yes,
treat it
yes,
that
yes,
way.
yes. I don't do it as often as before, but I used to think of shoot days for my content, and with that shoot day, I would try my best to repurpose whatever video, whatever song to fit other platforms. Right. That way, I don't have to do the same work 6, 7 times. It's just an additional 1 hour of editing, which is not too much compared to the potential rewards you might get in the future. Right. And it's the cool thing about social media. It's all about analytics, and it's easy to track and easy to learn from your mistakes and move forward from there. um we're gonna talk about the unique advantages of just a couple. So like Instagram versus TikTok versus YouTube Shorts versus what was the last one, Bilibili, right? um each of them has unique advantages that will make you decide where you want to put most of your baskets at. For Instagram, uh that just happened to be the one that worked for me. But now looking back at everything, that was the best course of action possible for my specific, um, let's say, personality and skill level. Instagram rewards very interactive, high quality, short content. Videos do it way better than photos, and it doesn't require as much effort like a YouTube long video, right? You can get eyeballs easily. And now that TikTok came into the picture, it's easy to migrate your Instagram content into TikTok, and it's easy to migrate it into YouTube Shorts, for example. Now, Instagram doesn't have the best advantage where it comes to the algorithm. And what's the algorithm, right? Um, Now we have to mention TikTok. TikTok has a very good um, beginner, artist beginner friendly algorithm where it will recommend things to anyone that might like your stuff. On Instagram, you kind of had to build an audience beforehand for people to like keep seeing your things, but on TikTok, anyone can make it. Take that as a pro or a con to your career, but I feel like it's very good for people that are starting out, right? And then I mentioned it a little bit for YouTube and Bilibili. The long form is that's where you're gonna get your most sources of revenue from, right? If your sole goal is not to get a large audience and it's to monetize a niche audience, pick the long form route 100%. It'll take longer to create that content, but it'll be way more rewarding. Let's continue. Any questions regarding the platforms? I've been on every one of them, so I know what sucks. Okay, the branding. How many people here knew who I was before this clinic? Okay, a solid amount of people. If any of you have followed me since, what was it, 2014? 2014 was the first time I posted original content on any of my platforms. And one thing that I lucked out on is that on that first Instagram video that I posted, I had Panda Pillow in the background. And that kind of defined my character all the way till now. At one point in my career, whenever I would go to NAM, somebody would be Panda guitarist. That might be a bad thing or a good thing, however you like want to frame it. But to me, it was a good thing because it was something that people recognized me easily on. And like I said, with the sea of musicians out there, you want some way to like stand out, right? And for me, it was that Panda identity. Then we have, does anyone know what a USP is? Okay, nobody. Unique selling point. Everybody needs a unique selling point, whether that's on your image, aesthetics, skills, your playing, your songs, whatever it is, right? You always want that extra oomph in your career. As a session player, that extra oomph came from professionalism, right? As an artist, the extra oomph came from having the right branding, like understanding my strengths and just pushing that forward. And like I said before, really, really understand your strengths and build from that. That's how you're gonna build a good USP for you to move forward in this industry. Then consistency, authenticity. Uh, I've been doing this 11 years, and there hasn't been uh, a time in my career where I stopped posting videos. Sometimes, like I've had lows in my career, but even within the lows, I always kept something consistent in my life. And to me, it was making videos. Making videos always reminded people that I still exist. And at some points, I was more relevant than other points, but that pushed me through everything, right? So find something that you can continue doing 10 years into your career, 15 years into your career, whether it's going to jam sessions, that can be your consistent thing, right? For the rest of your musical career, never stop going to a jam session. So find that one thing that you can do for a long time and you might succeed. And the last part of branding is defining your audience archetype. There is, uh, have a good day. Was he Ricardo? Yes, I remember it. Yeah. What was I talking about? Oh, defining your audience archetype, right? Once you understand who you are, you have to understand who's the person that's gonna be consuming whatever you're doing. Um, how many people here wants to put out music? Wants to just write songs and put out music. Okay, a good amount of people. Anyone here just wants to be a session and touring musician? Okay, that's good as well. So I'll tackle this two builds of musician. So the session and touring person, what do you think your audience would be?
So that's a very good question, and we're going through this in a very good class here. It's called Artist Identity.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing for several different
Artists
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all completely different. So I'm trying to adapt and do what they need. So I'm not expecting to have followers that follow me, unless some students that I'm gonna teach drums. But I'm not a front man as a drummer naturally. I'm more like a background person trying to support everybody. So the question for me is a little different, you know. So I'm trying to be a support man, not a front man.
So what I wanna reframe that mindset. Yeah, your audience is not the frontman's audience. Your audience is the musical directors. It's the artists you're performing for, right? That's your audience. Make sure you build that USP based on that. How are you gonna attract uh, in industry peers to consistently hire you back, right? Um, and that's what I wanted to say. Reframe that mindset and build your branding around that goal. So understand the archetype, right? I was recently talking with a friend again about being very specific about that category of audience, right? You have to be able to envision the age, the gender, the what they like, what they drink, like to the most minimal detail, and that will ensure higher chances at succeeding. If you can, like, okay, the people I'm targeting as a session player are artists within the age of 18 to 24. They drink coffee at 2 p.m. and they love listening to XYZ music. And now you have a point of reference and you know who to DM, who to message, and where to go to meet these people. I know you had a question as well.
So this is to add on to what he said, kind of comment on it. So his argument was that, like, he's asking, how can I have a image? How can I have a brand? How can I have a target audience when I'm just a drummer for hire, right? That was your question?
Yeah.
So, and you said brand yourself in a specific way. So, like, it's almost kind of niche. It's not like you're everything and anything for hire. You're like, I'm a rock drummer. For example, Motley Crue-esque band. And then any band that's like that is like, oh, I want this drummer because he kicks ass at drums. And he also has the look that corresponds with the rest of the band. I'm going to hire him, or I'm going to have him as my permanent drummer. That's what you're saying, right?
Exactly that. Like, if my goal was to get a rock gig, you best believe I'm going to be wearing a leather jacket every day. Yeah. some skinny jeans, leather jacket, and I'm gonna hang out at whatever bar I'm envisioning like these singers hang out at, right? Um, but yeah, that was it. Like really,
I think to just reinforce what Farsha is saying and what you're saying, I think the difference is that any session player here, doesn't matter whether it's drummer, bassist, or background vocals, whatever, if we don't have our own music or we're not songwriters, we are catering to other businesses, to other bands, artists, studios, music producers. If you are a songwriter, then you're catering to fans, to all your band, the fandom will follow you. And I think that's where the definition is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because like Pasha said, like both of us, we're doing the same thing. We want to play for other people. So we're actually catering and advertising ourselves to other musicians.
Yes.
Whereas you have your own followers, the people that like your music, so they'll follow you.
I went through that too, though. Like I catered towards artists and musical directors, etc., etc. I gigged for a long time before I landed on being an artist. And like I said on the first pillar or the first light, right? Always remember why you're doing this. And it took me a long time to circle back into what I really wanted, which was being a songwriter and being at the forefront of things. Not that I don't enjoy playing for other people. I still love that. And if I get a call, I'll still do it. But most of my efforts are towards building content for the following archetype of audience, right? But yeah, like songwriters, it's not necessarily fans and followers. You're targeting music labels, music publishers, and producers per se. Go for it. Yeah.
So, I have a question. Why do you think? All right, let me start by saying I see a lot of musicians, mostly ones that are not super developed, but also ones that are kind of developed. I see them. They want to have more of like a relaxed demeanor on stage and not really dress like per se how you're dressing. Like you're presenting yourself. You are making yourself look like I'm here to present. I'm here for like a reason, for like a show per se.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people, they just dress like in their normal clothes, and they'll just, even if they're playing like at some place like the Viper Room or something, and like that's like a rock gig.
Yeah.
Where you want to dress like how you're dressing.
Mm-hmm.
But some people would dress like, I don't know how I'm dressing or how Bernard's dressing, just like regular school everyday clothes. It's more functional than fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're like, a lot of people don't consider image and how you look on stage to be as, or maybe just a tiny bit less important than how good you sound.
From the session musician point of view.
Performing,
like a touring or a gigging musician, right?
Yeah.
I beg to differ. I feel, it also depends on the type of gig you're aiming for, right? Like I said, you have to be very, very specific with that audience. You could say that at the Viper Room gig for a less popular artist, it might not matter that much, right? But I truly believe that if you would compare two musicians at the same skill level, and one is presenting himself in a very aesthetically pleasing look versus the casual everyday look, me as an artist, now I'm gonna talk as an artist, I would probably pick the one that looks better on stage, right? And that's that extra like little percent that will make you get hired over that other person, right? And it's not that much effort. It's just, okay, 30 minutes before the show. Yeah, it's something to think about. Correct. Yeah. Thanks for asking questions. It pushes the clinic to different levels. Any more questions about branding? Nope. Let's continue. Now, the content. You might be wondering, okay, now that I know what's the audience I'm pushing for, like, what the heck can I post about, right? I always believe that all content has to be made with a specific purpose in mind. For the longest time, I would just mindlessly film a video with no purpose. Nowadays, I think that that was not the correct route. So always define what you want out of your content, whether it's to sell something, whether it's to attract a um, certain eyeball, or simply whether it's promotional purposes. Don't mindlessly spend your time creating content for nothing, and give it a purpose. Now, the type of contents I've tried is anywhere from song promoting, snippets and videos, to behind the scenes, to live performances. But something that really helped me build an audience is tutorials. Tutorials was like the little cheat code within my content that made people save the video a lot. And all these social media platforms value when people save videos, because that means they're going to come back to it and rewatch it. And the sole goal of whatever social media you're using is to keep eyeballs on the platform. So saving is the best indicator for them to keep pushing that content, right? But if tutorials don't align with whatever your goal of content is, you can stray away from it, right? But I believe that doing tutorials can fit what any type of goal. Even on the releasing songs as an artist, you can teach people about how you came up with the song, and it doesn't have to be a lot of behind the scenes, but more like, okay, this is the guitar part on the chorus, and then you teach them the guitar part at the chorus, and that will most likely engage people more than just letting people hear the chorus of the song, right? And then from a touring perspective, you can teach people parts of different arrangements, right? Let's say you really like this musical director. You aim for one of the arrangements that you see on YouTube and teach that section to people. That might not catch the attention of that musical director, but it might catch the attention of other musical directors, right? And then the most straightforward one is, if you're a music educator, tutorials should be part of your content repertoire anyways. Yeah, and now strategy. It's very dependent on your audience again. For me, the main goal has always been to, one, have the most ears and eyeballs on my content possible, so that eventually they buy my music, or they buy my taps to my songs, or they eventually buy a ticket to a show of mine, right? So everything you do with your content has to revolve around whatever goal you initially set out for. A quick extra bonus part about content is that ads are good. You cannot expect people to just randomly hear your song, right? There's a big difference between paying for an ad on a social media platform versus paying for a bot to listen to your song, or like to like and engage your content, right? You really want to hone in into how are you gonna make or how are you gonna maximize the potential of whatever content you release, whether it's a song, a video, or music sheet. Everyone good? I think I explained a little bit about the algorithm earlier. I'm gonna talk about how I have leveraged the metrics on different social media platforms to indicate what type of content and how I slowly change my goals depending on what phase of my career I'm in, right? The first thing with analytics for me was to decipher, or to like pinpoint, the audience archetype. Like I said earlier, I didn't think about that audience archetype early enough in my career, but my metrics kind of dictated what it was. And my archetype audience is 18 to 35 male guitar player. Like, that was my main audience, and everything I did was to tackle that. And eventually you can diversify from there. But if you want the most eyeballs possible, I knew for sure that my analytics was telling me that my content resonates the best with these people. So it's going to be very easy to expand that audience and that archetype of people, right? And it's also a good way to let you know whether you're happy with that audience. If you're unhappy with the audience, then stop doing whatever type of content you were doing and push for something else because you're not getting the right eyeballs into your content. Second way that I leveraged my analytics was through how do I call this? Knowing that archetype of people that consume my content and reach out to companies and brands that want those eyeballs. That's I'm gonna touch on this later on sources of revenue. But if you can pinpoint the audience you have, you can pitch that to different brands and be like, hey, these are the people you want watching your stuff. So pay me so I can help you promote whatever you're doing. Questions about analytics? Okay, let's move on. Oh, let's go.
Can you reiterate the last thing you just said?
Yes. Let's say you're an artist, or let's say you're an educator or a touring musician, right? Let's say on the educator side of things. As an educator, I leverage that specific audience. I know 1835 guitar player, male. Then I go, what other music platforms are out there that might want a piece of that audience, right? And then I'm like, hey, do you want me to help you promote your brand? And they go, yes, of course, because that's exactly the audience I want. And then you talk about the deal, they pay you, you promote their platform.
You have to already have a following.
Of course, yes. Analytics don't mean S if analytics don't mean anything if you have no people to give you insights or metrics on, right? Oh, sorry.
Are you gonna get into how to build your audience?
Yeah.
Just a question about like when you set the location on your ad,
Mhm.
have you tried like every country before like saying like okay that's like who I'm like aiming now? You know what I mean? Like imagine you do your audience, but like you don't know which country to go. Have you tried everything before?
It's you have to when targeting ads, you have to pinpoint that specific person archetype audience. I don't know if you were here 5 minutes ago.
No.
Oh, no worries. So I was telling people that it's very important to envision the type of person that's going to consume your either content, music, or your education, for example, right? And what does that entail? You want to know what age range there are. The more specific, the better. You want to know if they're male, female, etc., etc. You want to know what coffee they drink. You want to know what genre. You want to know what country they are from, right? And that's when you target the ads. If you can't pinpoint your specific archetype, it's not worth doing ads for. Yeah. I'm gonna give examples as an artist, right? Know what's the tier above you on your artistry. Whatever genre you are in, what do you think is the next level for yourself based on another artist? Ads wise, you can pinpoint that exact audience, right? I want this song or this video to only show on the feeds of XYZ artists following. As an educator, you can do the exact same thing. What's a teacher on social media that is one tier above you, whether it comes to popularity or like skill level or whatever? You pinpoint their audience, and that's a feature different social media platforms allow you to do.
Audience. Like,
Oh, the social media itself allows you to target the people that love that. Yeah. So for example, you go, you try to make a Facebook ad, right? You first select all the parameters, and at one point of the parameter is gonna ask you interests and hobbies, for example, right? And in there you put people that follow Ruben Wan. I want my video to show on the feeds of everyone that follows Ruben Wan, for example. Yeah. And the more specific, the better, right? You don't even want to put the people that follow Ruben Wan. You want to put the males that follow Ruben Wan that are within ages 18 to 20 that go to school or that are enrolling in music college or something like that. The more specific you are, the more benefit to cost you receive on the money you spend. So if you're super specific, then instead of wasting $100 on 10 eyeballs that didn't want to see your content, you waste $100 on 10 people that really wanted to buy your content, whether it's a lesson or whether it's a song or your merch or whatever it is. Yeah. Do you have a question too? I forgot. No. Um. Yeah, that's analytics. Next, sources of revenue. Right. Um. Like everything in the previous slides, I have tried almost everything out there that you can when it comes to getting money and getting paid, because music is hard and you shall try everything and anything underneath the sun. Um, on streaming services, anyone understand how releasing songs work and how you get paid? No one. Anyone interested in knowing? Okay, everyone. Um, with streaming services, you first want to, this is all independent, by the way. This is not the label route or anything. The first thing you want to do is find a distributor. Um, examples of distribution services for anyone is DistroKit, City Baby. Um, a tier above that would be like 1 RPM, etc., etc. Depending on which distributor you go for, they might take a cut or they might not take a cut. I personally use DistroKit. This is not an ad for them. It's just the one I picked at the beginning, and it has worked well for me. You just pay a yearly subscription, and they allow you to release unlimited amount of music, and they are in charge of putting all these songs on the different DSPs, streaming platforms. But that's only the distribution. This is no marketing. This is uh nothing that will make people go listen to your songs. This is just to put the songs in the services. You had a question? Yes, 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 yes. It's I mean, the list is like 20, 30 different online platforms, but the main one you want your music on is, like I said earlier, right? Pick and choose the one that you think will be the uh your your bread and butter, right? For me, I decided early on that was gonna be Spotify, and yeah, I put most of my efforts on the Spotify one. But for example, in DistroKid, when you upload a song, it goes on to even Chinese streaming platforms. So you never know when you're gonna um, uh, maximize a different platform. Because believe it or not, my top two is not Apple Music. My top two streaming platform is a Chinese streaming platform that I didn't even know about until like 3 years ago, right? I was just putting out my music, and then somehow the followers were raking in from there. And then maybe like 2 years into doing that, I'm like, why is my top two source of revenue regarding to my music coming from China? So, like I said, spread your seeds everywhere. Sorry, you had a question? I saw you raise your hand. No? Good. Okay. Um, once your songs are out on the streaming services, how you get paid is through that same distributor company that you decided to use, right? For me, I pick DistroKid, so every quarter I get a check from them or a wire transfer or whatever, based on however many streams I got on my songs. That's like the easiest way to boil down. Like the distributor service will pay you. But to get streams, it's up to you and how you use your content to maximize those streams per se. And within the streaming category, there's anyone that is enrolled in music business class. They probably explain to you the different um, other type of royalties regarding to your own music. One song is split usually in masters and then the publishing. Masters is everything regarding to that distro kit thing, right? The distribution, the streams, etc. And the publishing would be the composition of your song. And how I collect those royalties is a second service called Song Trust. Um, and what does that entail? That every time somebody plays a cover of your song, you get a couple cents. Every time they I don't know, they decide to put that song in a commercial, that's publishing royalties that you get. Second one, sales of music and merchandise. This is a failed one for me that I'm still trying to figure out, but like I mentioned earlier, you have to adjust accordingly. So instead of selling the music, I decided to sell music notation of my music. Oh, go for it. There's Bandcamp and there's your own website. Mm-hmm. Mega fans still buy music. Yeah. Mega fans buy albums. Yeah. Uh, uh, there you go. Yeah. 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 Sometimes it's good to. This is something I learned way too late into my career. That if something still exists and you wonder why, that means you're not their target audience. But that means that it still exists out there and somebody else is consuming it. So I learned to pivot, and I was like, I'm trying to sell my music because that gives me the best uh, profit ratio to cost. But people were not buying my music, so I went back to the whiteboard and I was like, okay, with this audience, how can I make them pay for my stuff? And it eventually landed on something that was successful, which was selling the music notation to my guitar instrumentals or my instrumental songs. And believe it or not, that matches the same amount of revenue that my streams make. So it just by doing that small pivot, I was able to 2x my revenue streams for the same song, right? Next, sales of. I mean, I just
So a
mentioned.
question: have you set up a company like to limit your cost and like in-house investment?
I do have, yeah, I have my own LLC where I do everything under. Yeah,
LIC?
LLC, yeah,
LIC, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Uh,
Like type of company to build in like the music industry?
Depends on what you want. If you're trying to make a company that you plan to sell in the future, uh, the best business friendly laws are in Delaware, but it will probably take me a whole course, like 3-month course to teach you about setting up the right corporation and how you can manage the different business laws around the different entities. But for me, it's an LLC. Yeah. Um, Sales of courses, that's the similar to selling music notation, but this time around you create master classes or you create um, whole curriculums based on, for example, the things you learned in MI. Now you become MI in a certain way, right? That's also a good route, especially if you already know that your music notation goes well. That's like evolving whatever's working for you. uh, Next is sponsorships and brand deals. This is probably for my own career mm, the thing I didn't expect to become my biggest revenue stream. This is something I found out through the pandemic days when I had the most eyeballs on my music. Everybody was on their phones, etc., etc. So brands had the most money during the pandemic. Um, if you know you're on the up and you have traction, like I said earlier, it's easy to pitch that traction and engagement to different brands and leverage that into getting brand deals um, and sponsorships per se, right? And this doesn't really classify as a music source of revenue, but it's still around whatever you're doing. For me, it was creating music content. Some brands really want those eyeballs, and that became a big part of my source of revenue. And how do you get brand deals? One, they reach out to you. Two, you actively find their either artist relations or head of marketing or whatever, and send them an email and be like, "Hey, I got people for you. Pay me." Crowdfunding. I never really dabbled in this because instead of giving a cut to like Patreon or whatever, you can just set up your own website by yourself and offer subscriptions, and you cut off that middleman. It works for some people, it doesn't. Trial and error, try it out. If it's not for you, it's not for you. If it is, then perfect. Then teaching online courses. Like I mentioned earlier, similar to how you get brand deals, you can also hit up these music education platforms and be like, I got knowledge to teach. I got XYZ credentials. Would you like to have me on your platform? If they say no, that's fine. If they say yes, perfect. Another source of revenue. Live streaming, I did Twitch for a couple months. Not for me, but I tried it anyways. it's a full-time job in itself. So if that's really what you like to do, then for like just go for it. If it's not, then continue doing music, because live streaming can be very tough on mental health, especially for me. It was very exhausting to try to entertain people for 3, 4, 5 hours at a time. But if you really love talking to the screen and having no one to reply to you with their voice, then don't do it. Affiliate links. Surprisingly, I never thought of this. This is a branch out from the content that you're already putting out, especially on the long form content, YouTube, Bilibili, or whatever. On the description, always just make an Amazon account, for example, Amazon affiliate link account. All the gear that you use on that video, make a referral code. Amazon will pay you a couple cents every time somebody clicks on it. I didn't expect that to be a thing, but people are interested, especially people that consume your content. They want to know what camera you were using, what was the guitar you were playing, what pedal were you running things through, right? And it's very low effort versus getting almost like free passive money. Last but not least, royalties. We got the royalties we talked about on the streaming side of things, but there's also royalties based on products that you collaborate with other brands with, right? Quick example, I have a signature guitar coming out soon, and whatever sales that makes, that's gonna give me a percentage of that. And that's always a nice little way to like maximize your content, right? You're already making content, might as well have an arm reach out to this and get some money here, some money here, some money there, based on that single work or body of art that you created. Go for it.
Revenue. What about television and TV?
I think I didn't put that because I have no experience with that. Yeah, I've never gotten a song placed on TV or in a movie. I did get a song stolen a couple of years ago. It was a big thing. This mega. Any Brazilian people here? No? Okay, perfect. There's this big Brazilian producer just ripped off one of my songs and created a song with like 50 million streams and views on YouTube. And then I had a bunch of Brazilian fans of mine reach out and like, yo, like they took your song, blah, 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 blah. And I was still fairly new into releasing music at that time, so I didn't know what legal actions to take. But eventually I settled for XYZ amount and percentage regarding to that. I was happy with it. People say I could have gotten more, but I was happy with the deal I got. And that was another royalty stolen like revenue, basically. Questions about revenue? Nope. Let's continue. The community. This one is tricky because it requires a slightly more extroverted skill set that you may not have. For me, it's usually if I have caffeine in me, then I can be very extroverted. But if I have no caffeine, then I don't even want to talk to you. So learn what that drug is for you, like what puts you in that extrovert mindset. And if you simply go like, I'm fully introverted, then don't even stay on music, because music is all about community and like playing with other people or like interacting with other people. So learn how to simply find common topics with other people and make friends out there, you know? It sounds simple, but even something like trying to be extrovert takes time, and it's another skills that you should put effort into. Some people are better at it, some people are not as good at it, but I feel like it's a skill anyone can acquire. And to recharge, if you're an introvert, go home, and then that's when you recharge. But every time you're outside, you got to put on that mask on if you're introverted. And collaboration. I know he asked me how to build that initial following and fan base, and the easiest one is through collaboration. Collaboration as in, it doesn't even have to be like reach out to the most popular musician or influencer out there, right? You can always tackle it by tiers. You can exchange favors, right? You're a drummer, for example. There's an artist that is a little bit has more following than you. Then you go, I'm gonna play drums for free on this show. How about we make a video together? Can be something as simple as that. For me, it was getting out of my shell of not DMing people. I used to have this big fear of reaching out to people through social media. It felt very fake, and like I was like, like it's such a chore, right? But once you push through that, you actually can develop very meaningful relationships with these people once you bring that digital social interaction to real life. And once it's in real life, you collaborate, you share each other's audiences, and then you grow together. And that's what community is about, right? I'm not saying that's the only way to grow, but that's the most fun and fastest way to grow. Now, the challenges, whether it's social media, being a musician, playing guitar, playing keys or whatever, like everything is oversaturated, right? And everybody's always talking, oh, there's so much competition in the industry. How am I going to make it? But I'm going to frame this in a different, I'm going to give you guys a different perspective, right? I used to think that as well. So much competition out there. How am I going to survive? Then a teacher of mine went, there's actually not that much competition. And what did he mean by that? There's not that many people willing to put in all the effort it takes to succeed. So because the pool of people that are willing to put all that effort is small, that means the competition is actually small. Yes, there's a million musicians, but not all of them are trying to do everything in their arsenal to make it happen. And once he reframed it that way, I'm like, oh, that's true. There's probably 1,000 musicians fighting for this specific job I want, but there's only 10 people out there that are truly putting in the effort to get that job. And I went, okay, I can stand out amongst 10 people. And it was not as daunting as having to face 1,000 different musicians out there. And then challenges for the social media side of things is, believe it or not, negative feedback is a big thing. He asked me how many times I felt like quitting music, and I said once a month. And probably 1 out of the 12 months, one of the reasons is negative feedback, right? Someone out there hates my music. Someone out there thinks I'm too skinny, too fat, my hair's too long, too short. And even though it sounds like silly at times, when all these things stack together, it affects you. Like, so definitely find ways to manage mental health versus the tension you're getting. For me, the solution to that specific challenge was only check social media when it's time to post and 1 hour after posting. That's when you reply to some comments. And then next time you post, that's the second time you're going to interact with whatever people, right? It might be hard. I know it because when I started out and I started receiving attention, my first inclination was to always check every single comment. And if it's good, thank you. If it's bad, oh shit, I feel bad. Worst thing you can do. Just set aside a time every day, 30 minutes. Bye-bye social media except for those 30 minutes. Second part of the and the top one solution to everyone's problems is pivot and stay adaptable. The industry is always changing. 5 years ago, it was way different from how it is today. 10 years ago, it was very, very different to how it is today. But if you learn to be a chameleon in these situations, I'm pretty sure you're going to be fine in this music world. And then if we circle back to the journey portion of this clinic and remember why you're truly doing this, then it shouldn't be hard to stay adaptable and just remember that feeling, oh, this is why I do music. Changing a little bit is not too much problem. Let's do it. And I think that's it. Any questions about the whole? Go for it.
Since you seem to be doing a very good job wearing all different kinds of hats now, is there someone in some business or some office or some person, maybe a friend, relative, or someone or a colleague that helps you with something, like maybe a graphic designer or an engineer or a videographer or makeup or a co-writer or a musician, like somebody, but because it's almost impossible to do 100%.
That's a very valid point, right? So we can tackle every single one of those. We still have like 30 minutes. Like graphic design. Um, I found ways to make it as easy as possible to wear all the hats. It's still very hard, but I found a way to do that. For example, like cover art for a song. My like 4 or 5 years ago, the way to do that was Fiverr. Anyone familiar with Fiverr here? Yeah, just go to Fiverr. You can have someone draw your cover art for $30, for example, and that's way easier than actively searching for a graphic designer and then having to like uh, negotiate rates, etc., etc. Nowadays, it's even easier than that. There's AI. Um, I'm not trying to belittle any like artist's drawings or whatever, but at some point in my career, I didn't need a hand drawn like cover art. Right? Sometimes I was happy with just inputting certain keywords into the AI machine, and that became my cover art. Uh, and that's just 5 minutes. And then you said multiple hats across the different things. After 10 years, I've optimized every single hat I have to wear to the minimal amount of time possible. And of course, they're not going to be the best outcome, but it's manageable within my own time frame of deadlines, etc., etc. Right now, no. I did have it for the 6 months I talked about when I was doing my singing project. You have to be very entrepreneurial. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, and I encourage every one of you to think as an entrepreneur. Like this is your livelihood. You gotta pay bills, and being any freelance job is being an entrepreneur. You have to find ways to find clients, and you have to find ways to have them purchase your services. Behind you first, yeah.
Are you doing your accounting? Also?
Accounting?
Yeah.
Now, yes, but there's multiple services you can use in the world to do it. I just like numbers, so I do my own tax. Yeah, I do my own taxes. Yeah, freetaxusa.org. Free resources. There's free resources for a lot of things, right? You don't necessarily need to go to like TurboTax or HR blog like that's or have your own CPA. I did have a CPA for a little time of my life, but then I was like, oh, I can just spend some time learning about this, and I'm not a multi-billionaire. I don't need to find all the loopholes possible. So I decided to start doing it myself, and I might not be saving all the money I can, but it's a good skill set to have as well. Yeah. Here first.
So, how long have you been pushing yourself as a brand?
As a brand?
Right now, as like the person, the artist, everything you are that you've developed to this stage. How long have you been in that? As long as you can call yourself developed, how long have you been
like fully developed?
Yes.
I don't think I'm fully developed, but I have yeah. I think everything came together 3 years ago. Pandemic. You have a lot of times in your hand. You can design yourself as a character. As in, do you play video games? Somewhat, right? I love video games. I love anime. I love cartoons, whatever. There's a lot of world building involved, and I like to think of my different projects as different characters in that world. And music teacher Ruben is this. I wear a suit, or I try to look like a teacher, right? And then I try to assign different stats, and I know the strengths of Ruben the educator versus Ruben the singer versus Ruben the guitar player. And I think the pandemic was a good time to really hone into what makes you as a artist, performer, educator, etc., etc. Understanding that is very essential to your success as well. So learn from your failures, right? I said that at the beginning. Like, you're here to learn from my failures again. My singing project was kind of a failure because I didn't separate Ruben the singer from Ruben the guitar player. I should have done that distinction very clearly. And the easiest example, you don't go into KFC expecting McDonald's. You don't go into McDonald's expecting Chinese fried rice. And I thought that was the route, right? Okay, I'm Ruben Wan. I do music, and I thought because it's music, I should keep it all in the same persona. Uh, but that learning experience made me realize that no, yes, food is food, but all cuisines are very different from each other, right? So if you're trying to develop multiple projects in your life, make a very clear distinction on how does the touring and session Ruben looks like on stage versus the artist Ruben looks on stage versus the music educator Ruben looks on stage. I know here. So, no, go. Take your time.
If I play guitar, drums, and bass, I should not put all that into one music account. I should have a drum page, guitar page, and bass page.
Are those different genres and styles of music? Or same song and you're playing all the instruments?
No, I mean, like, if I have passion in all three of those instruments, if I don't only want to be a drummer, if I also enjoy filming and doing covers or originals of guitar and bass stuff and I want to post it, should I put it all under one Instagram account, or should I make specific ones for, like, here's my bass videos, here's my guitar videos?
What's
like,
your goal with these videos? To become an artist?
so to speak, yeah.
Okay, if it's an artist project and that persona you're building in your world plays all these instruments, keep it in the same page. Yeah, same page. Yeah, unless your goal is to be a educator of like all these different instruments, at that point separate it, because you don't want the same bass players following your guitar stuff, right? Because it's gonna be hard to differentiate that content when you post it. Yeah. Hi. What was your name? Chris. Hi, Chris.
So I want to ask, like, you talk about paying for ads and also like paying for like bots. And stuff.
Don't pay for bots.
Yeah.
Pay for ads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is more of like, how much? Okay, I don't want to say that how much money, but how do you balance between the finance that you are earning and also like how much money that you want to put to the ads? Because I mean, the answer of course is like the more the better, but I mean, it's
No, not the more the better. Yeah.
And also like, how do you find a balance? And also like, you know, there are like people who will email you and ask you like, oh, I'm like, do you want to like not say buy followers, but you know, like
Expand your
expand your Instagram
Yeah,
account
yeah.
and stuff. Like, how do you look at that? Like those are scam and stuff like.
Yeah. So anything bot related is not worth it. Let's break down to two scenarios, right? The first reason why you would buy ads, and then the second reason why you would buy ads. In the first scenario, you're starting out. You don't even have a single eyeball on your stuff, right? And the second scenario, you're already established, and you know what you're trying to sell and how you're going to earn money back from those ads. In the first scenario, that's when budgeting comes into place. You know you have $100 worth of free money, not free money, but like you allocated $100 because that's all you had, right? And you try to squeeze the most you can from that $100 because that's very precious to you, right? And that's when specifying the exact audience that you want comes from. Now, in the second scenario, this is a little more businessy. You need to know what your customer acquisition cost is, and then what's the lifetime value of your customer versus what's your main way to like get that money, right? What does this mean? Customer acquisition cost is basically how much money do I have to spend to get someone to buy my product? In this scenario, let's say it's a guitar tab, right? How much money do I have to get for people to buy my $10 guitar tabs on my website? You don't want that to be $10 because that means you make zero money, right? Let's say after doing this for 4 years of scenario one, Now you know that you only need to spend $5. That's your sweet spot. For every $5 you spend on ads, you're gonna get one person that buys your guitar tabs, right? And that's where like that's how you manage the ad spend. If it's $10 for $10, that means that's not your product. Like you should pivot into a different product, right? You have to find a product or something you're offering of value to the people that will create you some profit in there, right? And then the lifetime value aspect for it, which is just food for thought because I can spend another 3 months talking to you about this, right? It's not as simple as the product costs $10, hence it has to be under $10, right? Sometimes spending that $10, yes, it got you one person that buys the guitar tabs, but maybe there will be repeat customers. So you only spend $10, but now you have one loyal student that will buy your next guitar tabs or your next course or whatever it is, right? So the more time you are in the industry doing a specific thing, the more data you have to understand how much leeway you have to spend. It's always nuanced. Yeah. Question here first.
My name's Johnny,
Hi, Johnny.
and I saw the video 2 years ago. Is Hand in the Cloud music festival,
Yes.
and I saw one of my favorite artists, Kashi.
Yeah.
And, I saw you are the guitarist.
Yes.
And can you share the experience
Yes, I can.
with him and the whole process of it?
Of course. Can I get some water first? Let me get some water. I have very weak vocal cords. Do you have a specific question first regarding how I got that gig or what was my experience? How I got the gig.
Yeah.
Does anyone know Keshi here besides? Okay. Yeah, multiple people know. So Keshi's this Vietnamese artist. He's very popular within the Asian community per se. And he had a festival 2 years ago at this event called Head in the Clouds. There were like 50,000 people there. And it was the biggest show I've played ever as a session guitar player. How I got the call was a friend of mine couldn't make it and he called me. But I was scheduled to play the same stage anyways. So very funny story. Do we have time to say? We have time to tell the story, right? Do you know Simu Liu? Like Avengers, Marvel dude? I was supposed to play for him instead that same night, but then he canceled his set. And how I got that was one of the musical directors of the event needed a guitar player. He knew of me, and then he sent me a message. So it's as simple as that, right? You know an array of musical directors, always stay within their radar, and then when they see that a specific gig fits you, whether it's aesthetics or your skills or whatever, then they're gonna give you a call. And that was the case for me. The musical director thought I was a good fit for the Simu Liu set, and then he gave me a call. I was still in Panama, then doing my singing project, funnily enough. But it was towards the end of the singing project, so it was like perfect on the timing. I had to change a couple flights, but that was fine. And then I flew back to LA. Then while I was flying to LA, the musical director sent me a message. Hey, the set got canceled, but we're still gonna pay you everything that was promised, like all the rehearsals, the live show money, etc., etc. Of course, I was bummed out because I really wanted to perform. But then, like literally 2 days later, a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, called me and he was like, "Hey, they need a guitar player for this. Can I recommend you?" And I'm like, "Of course, recommend me," because he couldn't do it. He was also a guitar player, and they recommended me. The team over there accepted, and I had to learn the whole set in 4 days. That's how I got the gig. Any other questions about the gig?
Songs.
How many songs? It was a 45 to an hour set. So maybe 12, 13 songs. Yeah. 4 days, and then we started rehearsals, which was 2 rehearsals. Yeah. So that's part of having baseline skill set for everything you love. Yeah. What's your name?
Nick.
Nick. Hi, Nick.
Nice to meet you. Hey, so when you do your social media, as far as like videos and that, do you tend to film a bunch of videos like in one day, week, or a couple days, or do you kind of do it just as they come weekly?
I do them as they come weekly, but that's not the way to do it. You should have a shoot day, a very specific shoot day. You want to compile all the ideas you want, and that means for that shoot day, you line up everything. That means that if you were gonna do makeup, you don't need to do it as they come. You have that single shoot day in that month, and you kill it all. Setting up, you don't have to set up 30 times that month. You just set up one time, right? So pre-planning is essential. I have done both. I did the pre-planning thing with my singing project. I directed 6 music videos. But that requires a lot of pre-production. But the reward and payoff is way greater than doing it as it comes. So don't follow the do it as it comes advice. Do the pre-production route. Yeah. And then here. Hi.
Hi, I'm Michael.
Hi, Michael.
How do you manage your time? Because you're a guitarist, also a singer, and you also write songs, also post on social media. How do
I manage my time? Find the core things you have to do daily, the non-negotiables. Everyone should have non-negotiables in their day. How my schedule is set out is I start my day every day between 7 and 8 a.m. and I hit the gym for 2 hours. Then I come back home, I eat lunch, and from 1 p.m. all the way to 6 p.m. is work time, right? Whatever happens in that work time can be pre-planned, like, okay, every day for 2 hours, I'm going to write a guitar song. Every day for 2 hours, I'm going to do this. And then every day for 30 minutes, I'm going to do anything clerical, like answering emails, doing my taxes, or whatever it is, right? It doesn't work that way for everyone. You can separate your week. You can be Mondays is for guitar, Tuesdays is for singing, Wednesdays is for answering emails, for example. I like to do a little bit of everything every day. And that's how I manage my time. After my work hours, then it's resting time, 6 to 8 p.m., eat dinner, watch a movie, play some Switch or whatever games I'm into at the moment. And then from 8 to 10:30 or 11, I do a little bit more work. Whatever I was hung up on during my first 6 hours of work, I'm like, oh, I really wanted to finish this song, right? Then during those last 2 hours, I go back into my studio and I work a little more on that specific thing. Definitely try to keep your schedule as organized as possible, because if you don't do that, then it's gonna be really hard to manage multiple hats in your career. I still struggle with it, but I found a happy place where my non-negotiables are my meal times and staying healthy and my sleep. So those 3 are my non-negotiables, and every day I need a little bit of work to keep my mind sane. Any more questions? No more questions? Then I shall play you guys one more song and we'll wrap up. That song is called Rose, and thank you so much for joining me on my first and my clinic ever. Full circle for me. If anyone wants a copy of the slides, feel free to use that QR code and download it. Yeah. Huh? Oh, it's not working? It is. No problem. That was while you guys were getting the QR code. Special shout out to a friend I have here in the front. Her name is Renny Go. She co-arranged and co-produced this last song. I stole her arrangement. And she has the senior jury record in MI. She got 100 points. Anyways, thank you very much.